almost 2 weeks, those displaced by Sandy have been in the Atlantic City Convention Center shelter. But Saturday night, it was closed, forcing out dozens of upset families who were left on the sidewalk with their belongings earlier in the day.
I talked to FEMA, and FEMA keeps on saying, your claim's on hold, your claim's on hold, but where's everybody going to sleep tonight?
We have no other option. We don't know what to do. And we got kids, people are pregnant, and it's just messed up.
Confusion and anger took over as people confronted FEMA and city emergency management officials, who said it was time for the shelter to close. Many, like Randy Golden, are still waiting on transitional housing.
FEMA's telling us our application is pending. Now we're on the street with nowhere to go. No food, no shelter. We're cold. I have a broken toe. I can't walk. I'm in a wheelchair. We have all our clothes.
All shelters have to come to an end. This particular one came to an end. So we're looking for alternatives for people if FEMA cannot get them into any type of shelter operation right now.
Action News was in the convention center earlier in the week when Eagles quarterback Michael Vick tried to lift spirits in the shelter. Many have damaged homes, but emergency management Chief Tom Foley says others were either already homeless, living in motels, or were transferred from a Pleasantville shelter, which closed last week.
So some of these people are not even from Atlantic City. They're from other states and other towns. We're trying to take care of the Atlantic City people first. That's our job.
FEMA says it was working to get people impacted by Sandy squared away as quickly as possible. Saturday night, some found shelter in the rescue mission behind this convention center, while emergency management says it was working to get hotel vouchers into the hands of others. Reporting in Atlantic City, Kenneth Moten, Channel 6, Action News.
Can you believe that? They're actually evicting them? Unbelievable. Well, folks, it's about to get a lot worse here. I got some great pictures coming up here. Breaking story out of Linden, New Jersey. Folks down there, they're seeing a massive camp, FEMA camp, being set up right before their own eyes. And this story here is from RT News. I'll leave everything you're going to see in this video is all linked down below in the show more box. So this story here is out of New York here. They're talking about turning a correctional facility, prison into a homeless shelter for about roughly 900 folks. They're talking about it's on Staten Island. It's the Arthur Kill Correctional Facility. Unbelievable. Well, like I said, this the breaking story here is out of a residence here in Linden, and I also got another great story here out of all papers here in Toronto. The Toronto Sun here in Canada. They went down to one of these camps, interviewed this young woman. She says it's just like a prison. She says you got to show your ID everywhere, even when you have to go pee. It's unbelievable. Okay, but first let's start off here with a breaking story here, story coming from residents in Linden who are seeing this massive FEMA camp being set up here right before their very own eyes. So they're saying here it's on routes number 1 and 9 if you travel from Woodbridge to Linden. There used to be the Linden Airport. It was torn down in 2008. There was supposed to be a new building going up. It never happened. Now all of a sudden out of the blue there's an enormous tent city with guards, fencing, gates, you know, there's water trucks. I got all these pictures here, by the way. What else? Generators, vehicles for taking showers. There's raw materials that are these. You're looking those vans there. Those are all mobile showering units. There's the raw materials. There's the 3,000 gallons of water there, and it's not just one truck. There's a lot of trucks. There's those mobile showering units. This place is not small. This young woman here who I'm going to show in the next interview where she talks about it being like a prison, she even talks about the power generators. You can see one of them right in close here. She talks about these things running all night long and not being able to sleep. It's unbelievable. She talks about it took about roughly, I think she says 3 days for the tent to warm up. Folks, I think they're scrambling here to try and figure out what they're going to do with all these homeless people. And when I start hearing stories about shelters being closed up, that's not a good sign. It seems to me like they're about to toss them into these tent cities, and too bad, so sad. You know, at least with Hurricane Sandy, folks got a mobile home, which wasn't, you know, much better considering they lost their home. But these ones here, it's going to be worse. They're not going to get a mobile home. They're going to get a mobile showering unit and a plastic tent to go back and cuddle up into their cots. Okay, so like I said here, this woman here, Toronto Sun went right down there. I'll leave a link down below if you want to read the entire story. But basically she says here, no one is allowed to go anywhere without showing their ID. Even to the bathroom, you have to show your badge, said Amber DeCamp, a 22-year-old whose rental was washed away in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. She says the mini city has no cigarettes, no books, no games, no board games, no magazines, no TVs, no newspaper, no radios, you know. And then she goes on to say here how she originally she was located at I'll read that part of the story. She says originally they're at the Tom River High School, and she says the conditions were actually fine. And she says all of a sudden they showed up saying that they had a half an hour for everyone to get shipped to hotels in Wildwood, New Jersey. And she says they were told they'd be able to get reacquainted with showers and beds and doors, only to find out that they hopped on a bus, went for a 4-hour bus ride, and ended up landing in this mini city, tent city. And she talks about here's like the she was, unfortunately, she slept right by the tent, and she says that the flaps of the tents were flapping in the wind. She says we got in there, we had rubbery pillows, one sheet, and we're tossed on a blanket. There was no heat that night. The temperatures dropped to freezing. She says people could actually see their breath. She says the gusts of wind blew snow and slush onto my face. She says she was freezing cold. She was shivering. Her hands were starting to turn purple. She says it took 3 days for the tents to get warm. FEMA, you blew it, folks. And here, you know, it's getting worse here. People in New York, they're getting pissed off here. There's no power. What's going on? Okay, I'll leave a link down below here to Hurricane Sandy. It's a great map here. If you're looking for gas, if you're wondering where the power outage is, this is supposed to be kept up to date. Folks, it's not good here. And when I see them talking about tossing folks into old prisons, you know, it's sad. You know, it's one of the things here I've talked about many times. Back in 2009 was this book put out by the British Columbia Federation teachers that were talking about how times repeat themselves, and they were comparing these days to the 30s, you know. And we did the same thing here in Canada. Back in the Depression, we didn't have FEMA camps, we had relief camps. Everyone that didn't have a place to go, we tossed them in there. They were forced to work 6 days a week, 10 cents per day. They were allowed to spend 10 cents a day on cigarettes, you know, crappy showers, terrible conditions. Things are just repeating themselves, folks. You got to take care of yourself. Get prepared, okay? Get some networking going. Have an action plan. If something happens at your place, you have a backup place where you know these folks are going to welcome you into their home. And yeah, take care, folks.